When I first bought my property, it was marketed as a rural residential lot. Enough land for livestock, a barn, and some peace and quiet. I raised cattle, a few horses, and had a big red barn I'd built with my own hands. The property sat on the border of a new subdivision that popped up about 10 years later, run by, you guessed it, a very controlling HOA. At first, they left me alone. I wasn't part of their association, didn't pay dues, and legally, they had zero authority over my land. But as the subdivision expanded, my barn apparently became an eyesore for their McMansion paradise. Never mind that my barn had been there long before their cookie-cutter homes or the ornamental garden they bragged about in the HOA newsletter. The first time I heard from them was a letter stuffed in my mailbox. It read something like, "Dear resident, your structure, Red Barn, does not conform to community aesthetic standards. Please paint it neutral beige or remove it." I laughed so hard I nearly spilled my coffee. I tossed the letter in the trash and carried on feeding the bulls. But the HOA wasn't done. Over the next few months, I got more letters, visits from their self-proclaimed compliance officer, and even a threat of fines, which, again, I wasn't subject to. I ignored them all. Then one Saturday morning, I woke up to the sound of heavy equipment. I stepped out onto the porch and nearly fainted from rage. There, right on my property line, sat a backhoe and 3 men in neon vests, tearing down my barn. I ran over, shouting, demanding to know what the hell they were doing. The foreman, clearly uncomfortable, waved a clipboard. "The HOA contracted us. Said this barn was unauthorized. We were told it's part of their community." I nearly lost it. "This barn is on my land. I've got the deed inside. You're trespassing." But by the time I could get the sheriff out there, the damage was done. Half the barn was a pile of splinters. The men packed up, muttering apologies, and the HOA president herself, an over-perfumed Karen with sunglasses bigger than her forehead, smiled smugly and told me, "You'll thank us later when your property value rises." That was the moment I decided they were going to regret it. See, the barn wasn't just for storage. It's where I kept my bulls when they weren't out grazing. With the shelter gone, I had no choice but to move them. And wouldn't you know it, the only available pasture was right along the HOA's prized community garden. Now, if you don't know bulls, let me explain, they don't care about your prize-winning roses, your imported shrubs, or the fancy koi pond you put in to impress your neighbors. To a bull, it's just more territory to stomp, graze, and fertilize. So, I fixed a section of fencing, gave the bulls access to the HOA's immaculate flower beds, and stood back. It was glorious. Within hours, the bulls had trampled through rows of hydrangeas, rolled in the decorative mulch, and turned the koi pond into a mud bath. HOA members came running out in horror, waving their arms and shouting, "But good luck stopping a 1,500-pound animal once he decides that petunias taste better than pasture grass." Karen showed up screeching like a banshee. "You can't let them in here. This is community property." I calmly leaned against the fence. Well, I had a barn to keep them in, but someone demolished it. Now they need space. This pasture's on my land. If they wander into your precious garden, that's not my problem. The best part? The sheriff backed me up. When the HOA tried to press charges, he pointed out that they had, in fact, trespassed and destroyed my barn without a legal order. He advised them rather sternly that unless they wanted to face lawsuits, they should leave me and my bulls alone. The HOA board tried for weeks to send me bills for the damages. I sent each one back with a photocopy of my deed and a note, "Maybe if you hadn't torn down my barn, my bulls wouldn't need new landscaping." By the end of the summer, their once fancy garden looked like a battlefield. The HOA eventually replaced it with plain grass because the bulls just kept coming back, and no one had the guts, or legal standing, to stop me. As for me, I built a new barn, bigger and sturdier than the last. Painted it bright red again, just to spite them. And every time I see Karen drive by, glaring from behind her oversized sunglasses, I tip my hat and smile. Because nothing, and I mean nothing, decorates an HOA's luxury neighborhood quite like a herd of bulls lounging in their garden.